Hello friends, and welcome to this new lecture on finite volume method. So we'll continue from where we left off last time, and today I'll actually talk about certain accuracy issues associated with all the schemes that we saw in the last lecture, and I will also we'll finish the lecture by developing the two-dimensional form of the convection diffusion transient equation. Okay, so to understand, so the lecture I'll begin with is to look at the first part is to look at accuracy, and to consider accuracy, let me take a simple example. Let's say we have a 3-node problem. So let's say we have node W, node P, node E in a domain. For now, let me assume that the distance, which is delta xc and delta xw, I'm going to assume to make a point that delta xw is the same as delta xe. Okay, and let's say this is 1 unit. Okay, we'll take the control volume faces as w and e as usual. Okay, and also to make to show you some key aspects, let me also assume that dE and dW is given by D, so they are the same, or basically the conductance, the diffusion conductance is the same. Okay, so for this problem we know that we can write the values of the variables phi using AP phi P to be AE phi E plus AW phi W, where AE we've been writing as DE into A mod of PE plus max of 0 comma minus FE. AW was DW A mod of PW plus max of 0 comma FW, and AP was AE plus AW plus FE minus FW, where we note that Beckley number PE is FE by DE and PW is FW by DW. Okay, so what we are going to do is we're going to study today. So what I'm going to show you, or to illustrate this point, what I'm going to show you is that how each of the schemes that we have looked at so far, how does this behave as a function of Beckley number for this basic problem. Okay, and to make it simpler, let's assume that phi E is 0 and phi W is 1. So I'm assuming that. So those could be the boundary conditions, and then we can look at how phi P changes depending on the choice of the scheme and the value of the Beckley number. So as an example, let me use the upwind scheme, and the treatments for the other ones are actually can follow in the likewise manner, which I'm leaving for you to work out. So for Beckley scheme, we know that A of mod P is 1. So I would request you to look at the last lecture to see why this is the case. Now if A of mod P is 1, that means AE becomes DE plus max of 0 comma minus FE. Okay, and let's also assume in this problem that FE and FW, which I'm going to write as F, are greater than 0. Okay, so the flow is going from left to right. Okay, so then AE becomes D plus max of 0 comma minus F, which becomes just D because minus F becomes negative, and AP, or rather AW, will in a similar manner become D plus max of 0 comma F, which becomes D plus F. And so clearly AP would be AE plus AW plus FE minus FW. If FE and FW are equal for this one-dimensional problem, we'll have this to be D plus D plus F, which becomes 2D plus F. And so phi P which is AE phi E plus AW phi W by AP, will become F plus D, which is AW into phi W, which is 1, plus AE into phi E, which is 0, divided by AP, which is 2D plus F, and this becomes F plus D by F plus 2D, which I can also write as, if I divide the whole, the numerator and denominator by D, we'll get 1 plus P by 2 plus P, where P is the Peclet number given by F by D. Okay. Now this is assuming, so this phi P comes out to be assuming if P is greater than 0. You can work out that in case P was less than 0, which means FE and FW were negative, in that case phi P would come out to be 1 by 2 minus P. So I'm leaving this for you to work out and to prove to yourself. Okay. So why did I do this? So now let me get to my actual thing. Let's plot. On the y-axis we can plot, let's say phi P. On the x-axis we'll plot Peclet number. So we have P here and we have phi P here. Okay, and let me choose, so let's say this is 0.5, and so this becomes 1. Okay, and let me also choose the x-axis. So let's say we have 1, 2, 3. Okay, so let's look at how this function goes, how phi P goes. Okay, how this function phi P goes as a function of P. Now remember, this is valid only when P is greater than 0. Okay, so for P greater than 0, which I'm going to draw using, let's say for the upwind scheme, let's use some yellow color, let's say. Okay, when P is 0, you can easily see phi P is 1 by 2, so it's 0.5. So that is the value when phi P is, or when P is 0. Okay, and then when P increases, okay, phi P actually will increase. Now this may not be very clear, but of course I can, you could write this as 2 plus P minus 1 by 2 plus P, which becomes 1 minus 1 by 2 plus P. So clearly if P increases, right, 2 plus P will increase, so 1 by 2 plus P will basically decrease, and so 1 minus 1 by 2 plus P will also increase, so phi P will increase. So another way to look at it is that if P goes to infinity, we'll have phi P to be equal to 1 by P plus 1 by 2 by P plus 1, and so P goes to infinity would mean that this becomes 1. So basically this curve that we have for the upwind scheme would look something like this, and it's a non-linear function. Remember, it's not a linear function, so you will have something which will be sorry, draw it. Okay, so this will be the upwind scheme. So this is how phi P will change with Peclet number. Now how did I get the left portion, which I have done very conveniently here, but you can now again see that if P was negative, anyway P equal to 0 will still give this 1 by 2, but as P becomes negative and P becomes more and more negative infinity, phi P will actually become 1 by infinity, which becomes 0. So that is the reason we are going to 0 as Peclet number is increasing. Now in a similar manner, and this is what I'm leaving for you to work out, if you use a central differencing, okay, what you will get in this case, and let me choose some guidelines again to help me because remember the central differencing scheme we spoke about is only gives physical realistic solutions only between Peckley number of or mod Peck of less than 2. So with this central differencing scheme, what you will see is something like this. This is what phi p would look like. This is going to be the central differencing solution. And if you remember, the hybrid scheme takes some aspects of central differencing and then mixes it up with some aspects of of how the physics will change if modulus p is greater than 2. So I should say the hybrid scheme would be the same as the central differencing scheme for mod p less than 2, but then beyond that it should give me this behavior. So this blue is going to be the hybrid scheme. Okay, and now let's look at the last one, which is the power law. Okay, and let me use the red color here. So the power law actually has this, for A mod P we have a much more complicated polynomial function. So there, if you work this out, the power law scheme will essentially give you so this red curve will be the consequence of the power law scheme. Okay, so phi p will change with modulus p based on, or with p based on the choice of the scheme. Okay, now one of the things that you should note here is, which I have stated many a times, but the first thing you should note is that the central differencing scheme, okay, does not give physically realistic solutions for mod p greater than 2. Okay, and this Peckley number that we're defining is based on the grid size, so it should be rho u delta x by gamma. Okay, the second more important thing is regarding the upwinding scheme. If you look at the upwinding scheme, you can see, and let me choose a slightly different color to illustrate make my point. If you look at the upwinding scheme, it shows quite a bit of deviation from the power law scheme. Okay, so what it technically means is, and to explain what my point, let me choose some let's say some Peckley number, I don't know, let's say Peckley number of 4. Okay, now for Peckley number of 4, the power law scheme, which is essentially the same, almost the same as the exact solution, gives me some value of phi p. Okay, I don't know, whatever it is. But for Peckley number of 4, the upwinding scheme basically gives me a lower value of phi p, and in fact it gives me a value of phi p which correspondingly belongs to a lower value of on the power law scheme, or lower value of Peckley number on the power law scheme. So essentially the hybrid scheme is working. So even though the answer solution may be for Peckley number of 4, right, even though the solution may be for Peckley number of 4, the hybrid scheme, or rather the upwind scheme, is sort of representing maybe Peckley number of, this is the real Peckley number. It is actually showing you an apparent Peckley number which is less than 4. And what does it mean that if the apparent Peckley number is less than 4? It means that the role of diffusion, the gamma value, is actually increased in upwind differencing. That is how the apparent Peckley number is smaller, which means that upwind scheme, we can say, shows false diffusion. This is one of the greater issues facing the upwind scheme. Okay. Now what it means is that when you do problem solving for high Reynolds numbers, the upwind scheme may actually, for high would say, if you're still in the, let's say, near, in this low Reynolds number regime, but sufficiently high from Reynolds number 1, you may actually see behavior which may not be physically correct. Okay. Now, knowing this, so the selection of the scheme becomes a critical aspect when we are using the finite volume method to solve our problems. So these are some of the accuracy issues related to the schemes that we have covered so far. Now what I want to start or to discuss in this lecture is the convection, diffusion, discretization equation in 2D. And I'm doing 2D only. The 3D part is sort of a natural consequence, and so I'm not going to work on it in this course. But to again start off, let's draw a grid first. Let's say we have a 2D grid. Okay, the point P is there. We have now E, W, N, S, and let's say we have the control volume which faces E, N, W, S, and with sizes. So let me hatch this. So the control volume size is delta Y and delta X. Okay. Now note that we've been writing the flux. Okay, so now we have two fluxes in this problem because this is a 2D problem. We have two fluxes in our problem, which will be rho u phi minus gamma d phi dx, and jy, which is going to be rho v phi minus gamma d phi dy. This we're going to talk about as the total flux in the x and y direction. Now if you look at the original differential equation, that was d by dt of rho phi plus d by dx of rho u phi plus d by dy of rho v phi is d by dx plus d by dy plus a source term. So note that I'm actually now trying to work out the methods for the transient problem. Okay, so I can rewrite this equation by pulling this term and this term to the left hand side and combining with the convective terms. So I can write this as d by dt of rho phi plus d by dx of rho u phi minus gamma d phi dx plus d by dy of rho v phi minus gamma d phi dy to be s, and now I can replace this by jx and this by jy, and so we have d by dt of rho phi plus d by dx of jx plus d by dy of jy is s. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to integrate this last equation over the control volume, over this control volume. Okay, so this equation integrated over that control volume. So what does it give? So now we write that. So we can write this as, so before, so I'm going to jump a few steps, but you can now see that I can, when I integrate, I would get rho p phi p minus rho p naught phi p naught by delta t into delta x delta y plus je minus JW plus JN minus JS is equal to SC plus SP phi P delta X delta Y. Now, how did I get this? So first of all, in the left hand side, in this part, in the left hand side term, the transient term, we have assumed that rho P and phi P are or prevail over the entire control volume. So this is the same assumption that we have been taking so far with the transient term. Okay, and here rho P naught and phi P naught are values, okay, at the beginning of this time step, not at the starting of the simulation, but at the beginning of the current time step. Okay, and what about JE and JW and JN and JS? Now JE is integral over south to north of JX over the face E dy. Now how did we get this? Okay, so to show this, let me take you back here. Yeah, I can keep it here. So this is essentially the flux leaving this face, okay, the E face. So that should be this JX integrated over, so JX integrated over, when we do dx dy dt, three integrals, time I'm not very concerned about, but when you do JX or rather d by dx of JX, you get, this will be give you integral JX dy over E dt, and the integration will have to be south to north and t to t plus delta t. Okay, so that is how we get JE, and similarly JW will be again south to north JX over W face dy, and so on. And similarly I can also write JN and JS, but I'm not doing it, okay, just because I think you get the point. Now to further simplify this equation 1 that I have written here, I also need some information of rho P. We still don't know what rho P is, because this is the rho density at the new time step. Okay, and what is the governing equation for rho? That we can use, or that for that we can go to the continuity equation. So the continuity equation says d rho dt plus d by dx of rho u plus d by dt of rho v is 0, and if you integrate this equation over the same control volume, what will we get? We'll now get rho P minus rho P naught by delta T, delta X, delta Y. By the way, I am writing delta T here at the denominator doesn't mean that this integral somehow, this integral is actually giving me delta T. Essentially delta T would come in each of the other terms, and when we divide the whole equation by delta T, the delta T would show up in the denominator. And the same is true of here. Okay, the same is true here. So when I integrate, when I do the triple integral, I would have the source term will also have a delta T, this will have a delta T, and this will also have a delta T. Okay, so just to clarify, do not want to give the wrong impression here. Plus, now what will we get from these expressions? So d by dx of rho u will basically become rho u, right? So Fe minus Fw plus Fn minus Fs is 0, where these F's are essentially the convective fluxes. So rho u E into delta Y, Fw will be rho u at the west face into delta Y, F north will be rho V, not rho u, rho V north into delta X, and Fs will be rho V south delta X. Okay, now what I'm going to do is, I'm going to multiply this equation 2 by phi p and then subtract from equation 1 so that I can get rid of this rho p phi p term. Okay, so multiply equation 2 by phi p and subtract from equation 1. Now somebody might think, why am I doing this? Well, the reason is that at the new time step t plus delta t, rho p and phi p both are unknown, so this is essentially a nonlinear function for phi, right? Because rho is also not known, so I want to decouple. Okay, I want to decouple the two quantities. So when we multiply and subtract, what you will get is rho p naught into delta x delta y by delta t phi p minus phi p naught plus je minus fe phi p minus jw minus fw phi p plus jn minus fn phi p plus js minus fs phi p would be sc plus sp phi p delta x delta y. Okay, so I just found and noticed an error here. So this is minus js phi s phi p. So to go further from this point, let me take you a few steps back, and now let's, as a breaking point, let's just look at the 1D formulation that I have presented so far. Okay, and the 1D formulation that we were looking at was based on the steady state equation, okay, which said that dj dx is 0, was the governing equation for that problem. And using this equation, we had actually shown, if you recall now from the last few lectures, that the flux at the E phase is Fe phi p plus Fe phi p minus phi e by exponential of Pe minus 1. Okay, and using this expression, if you look back again, you could see that we could write that the coefficient AE, using the exact scheme, right, the exponential scheme, could be written as e to the power Pe minus 1. And if I combine these two equations now, okay, if I look at combining these two equations, we could write je minus fe phi p to be ae phi p minus phi e. Okay, now this is based on the exact solution to the problem. But now if you see, the reason I did this is that we have so far described approximations to this coefficient. Okay, we have described, or we have looked at approximations to this coefficient, and the approximations were based on the hybrid scheme or the power law scheme, even the upwind scheme, so to say. Okay, so the reason I'm saying this is because now we know how to write je minus fe phi p in terms of the coefficient ae and phi p minus phi, and phi p and phi e as the nodal values. Similarly, I could also write jw minus fw phi p to be aw phi w minus phi p. You can work out. It doesn't take too much time to actually get to this equation. And what you can also write is that jn minus Fn phi p would be An phi p minus phi n, and Js minus Fs phi p would be As into phi s minus phi p. Okay, so this was a 1D counterpart. So now this is the same thing the same logic I'm going to use in simplifying this equation. Okay, because I have these coefficients which are, or these values which are still to be simplified. Okay, so what I'm going to now do is I'm going to replace Je minus Fe phi p, right? So I will replace Je minus Fe phi p by the right hand side, which is Ae phi p minus phi, and then I could replace Jw minus Fw phi p by Aw into phi w minus phi p, and the rest I'm hoping you will follow very soon. So if I do this, what we'll have is rho p naught delta x delta y by delta t phi p minus phi p naught plus Ae phi p minus phi e minus Aw phi w minus phi p plus An phi p minus phi n minus As phi s minus phi p to be equal to Sc plus Sp phi p into delta x delta y. And now I can rearrange this equation to get my final discretization equation, which will be Ap phi p to be Ae phi e plus Aw phi w plus An phi n plus As phi s plus b. So this is my final equation that I wanted to write for the 2D system, for the 2D transient system, 2D transient system, where Ae is now dE into A mod PE plus max of 0 comma minus Fe. Aw will be dW A into mod PW plus max 0 comma Fw. An will be dN A mod Pn plus max 0 comma minus Fn. As will be ds A mod ps plus max 0 comma fs. The value b, the constant b, will be sc into delta x delta y plus ap naught phi p naught, where ap naught is sort of like the inertia term, which is going to be rho p naught delta x delta y by delta t, and finally ap will be sum of the neighboring coefficients minus the source term contribution. Okay, now note that dE, which is the conductance, diffusion conductance, would be gamma E into delta y by delta xe. Okay, and dW will be gamma W into delta y by delta xw. dN will be gamma N delta x by delta y n, and ds will be gamma S delta x by delta ys. Okay, and the Peclet numbers could be defined as Fe by dE, Fw by dW, Fn by dN, and Peckley South will be Fs by ds. Okay, so this is the final two-dimensional form of the discretization equation, and so this is where I'm going to close this lecture today. In the next lecture, I will discuss a bit about a higher order differencing scheme for the convection diffusion type problems, and then from there on we'll move into solution of the coupled momentum equation. So basically the calculation of the flow field along with some variable, which could be like the variable phi, which could be concentration or temperature or one of the other flow properties. So thank you for listening, and see you next time.